Timothy, today was the day that I realized that this is why I don't leave the house. I was cut off by two people and somebody else almost ran into me. And I would say, normally, Amy, you're the common denominator, but I was in the right and I was not happy. It's, it's not good. Somebody tried to turn left in front of me while I was going straight. And I was like, and then he flipped me off. And I was like, that's not cool. And then I was going down an 80 and somebody decided to pull out right in front of me and I had to slam on the brakes and I honked the horn. And you know what they did? And I'm like, you bastard.
You realize you're talking to somebody who was in a head-on collision,
Yeah,
right?
it's not great. It's not great. This is why
No,
I don't leave the house. It's terrifying.
I wouldn't leave your house either, though, because, and I almost didn't when I was taking care of all of your fur babies, because you're in a beautiful location in a beautiful house, and I got to wake up and look at the water every single day. I wouldn't leave either.
Yeah, but sometimes you have to leave, right? But also just reinforce the like, I don't know. It's scary out there. To your point.
It is
Like
scary out
you were in
there.
the middle of this, right? And it's like, I concur.
And yet I've driven, I think, 30,000 kilometers in the last 15 months.
Yeah.
And um, I have to say the most flipping of the birds I've had at me or tailgating has been in Canada.
Yeah.
So
Really
yeah,
interesting.
it happened this morning when I went to the gas station and I was stopping for a school bus. And as you know, I've got shit on the back of my vehicle, like a tow
Yeah,
hitch
like
on
a
my
tote.
bike. So I'm long, and this guy was within inches of me, and I'm like, school bus, signals on, had to stop. That's the law. So yes.
See, what I don't understand is why, when it's very clear to me, like if I make a mistake, I know that I've made a mistake driving, right? Like nobody's perfect, but like it was very clear that I would like they were in the wrong. And I don't understand why people's reflexes is to flip me off. Like it's not like I was raging at them. I was just like stopped and waited, except for the second guy, and I beeped at them because I was like, you're gonna kill someone. Like it was just like, what are you doing?
And I think because I'm sitting here in a rented RV because you and I have been doing a lot of recording, and I also have court time
Mhm.
tomorrow, so I really needed stable internet, which is ironic. We won't tell our viewers and listeners about how I've been struggling with Starlink. Uh, However, one of the reasons that I think I'm kind of questioning humanity
On a daily basis at this point.
on a daily basis, because on the last show, we had somebody who gave part of her kidney to save a stranger. And on this show, we're going to talk about somebody who got a terminal diagnosis, and I think it's 6 years later is here with us. So I'm in that phase right now, Ames, where I'm like, there's a bigger picture here. And if
Yeah.
you're fretting about trying to blow through a school bus stop sign, you have some personal work to do.
Yeah, I mean, there's been many a times when I'm just like, "No, you go." I'm not in a hurry in that way, so you go, 'cause I'd like to arrive eventually, so
Yeah, and because clearly you've got some other anger management issues going on if you're honking at somebody who is just trying to save children getting on a school bus.
yeah.
So yeah, and I just think, I mean, that's a topic for probably another day, but I think that stress level of human beings, particularly those in North America. Well, no, I shouldn't say particularly. That would be inappropriate given wars in other countries, but more so in North America than I have experienced in my lifetime
Hmm.
of big issues like, global security and what's happening south of the Canadian border and how that impacts us. And so I think that people are kind of, what is happening right now? He's like, I just want to be around you. So I think that people are kind of getting overwhelmed. So I like to give them the benefit of the doubt that, when they were like 3 kilometers past you, they probably thought that was inappropriate. I shouldn't have done that.
I mean, that's very nice of you to think that. I try to think that way, but also I'm just like, you just flip me off like for no reason. I am a lovely individual and you just flip me off for no reason.
You are a lovely
Oh well,
individual. I
people.
have to ask you, like, you often wear thematic clothing. What have you got on your
I
t-shirt?
just have a teapot or a teacup.
Oh, because your company is Tea and
Well,
Toast.
I mean, it fits,
I
but
get
all you
it.
can see is the heart now. So
I get it. No, I like the
yeah,
heart though. Yeah.
yeah.
I, I'm
Well,
I'm not sure some people think that you or I have hearts, but we do.
right there, it's right there.
We do.
Let's invite Gina in and we will unearth, debunk, talk about what kind of happened to her. She can give much better details than we can. So
Yeah.
um, let's see
It's
what she
a
has to say.
it's a really cool story about where science intersects with mental health. Really cool story.
All right, hold tight.
I'm holding. Well, Amy, if a book title doesn't get you, the content sure will. Eugenia Horan, also known as Gina, which we're going to call her here, has written a book. Now, listen to this title: A Dead Girl's Guide to Terminal Cancer. What? The true tale of anxiety, horror, and hope. Gina, welcome. I cannot wait to hear this story.
Well, we say that now.
We're very interested. Tell us a little bit more about you, Gina, and how this book came about.
Okay, I'm gonna get my partner here who helped me through cancer, and
Fair enough.
um, he's my therapist. So so if you want to start with the book,
Well,
the book
let's
is
tell us about you, and then
Yeah.
we'll yeah.
I am 52. I've spent most of my life as an artist, a sort of unconventional person because I had a rather unconventional childhood because I was sort of plagued with anxiety as a child, but anxiety didn't exist for children in the 80s. So I had a host of other diagnoses, which ended up with me being pulled out of high school at the end of ninth grade and I started college. So I've always been a little weird, a little marching to my own jump beat sort of kind of gal.
Awesome.
And so this set me up to be a weird adult and I became an artist and had success as a painter and as a photographer and still was always sort of a nervous person because I disagreed with therapists about being medicated. I chose to sort of embrace my anxiety rather than think of it as a personality defect. And I went along like that for a while until in 2019 I had some health problems that I couldn't fix, and I'm used to fixing everything myself, so I was very irritated. And I went to the doctor, and I told her I was having shortness of breath and a tight chest, and I lost some weight, and my resting heart rate was now between 120 and 150.
Wow.
And so she diagnosed it as anxiety, even though the main reason I was there was that I had started coughing up large amounts of fresh blood.
Oh.
And I said, with anxiety, you would cough up fresh blood, like as a joke. And she's like, oh, that can happen because you get yourself all worked up. And I was
What?
like, that's crazy. And I think we all know that's crazy. So I said,
That sounds like a second opinion to me.
why don't we run some blood tests? I said, why? Because getting me into a doctor's office isn't that easy because of anxiety. And this was in February and high flu season pre-COVID. So, but I didn't want to be there, but I knew that it was not anxiety. So I was sort of scrambling for what I could do to go home with something because I thought maybe it's a pneumonia, maybe something. And so I thought blood tests. And she was like, "Oh, that's a good idea." And I'm like, "Thank you."
Oh my God.
Because this is a woman that had been my doctor for 9 years. It's like, we already knew I had anxiety. That's why I come see you. But
Mhm.
the spitting out blood thing, and like I was 98 pounds for about 30 years, like no matter what I did. And all of a sudden I was 93 pounds. It's not a lot, but it was concerning.
Mhm.
So it's like, what is going on? And you're just nervous. Like, well, I am now. So after that, she ran the blood test, and I thought, I've adulted. I've done everything I can do. And my husband and I drove home, and the phone was ringing by the time we were in the driveway that I might want to get to a CT scan. So it was a good idea to ask for the blood test and not just be like, oh, okay, I'm being blown off, and wait and get a second opinion. So I did get a CT scan that day, and my doctor had us wait around for the results, and she told me I had a cloud of pneumonia in my lung, and she asked to talk to my husband on the phone because she wasn't there, and she told him I probably had lung cancer. And later she would say, "Well, I didn't want to tell you you had cancer because I thought it would make you nervous." I mean, we've already established I'm nervous. So when I talk to you guys about anxiety sort of being like the string that connects my life, it does it in very ironic ways sometimes.
But somewhere in there, somebody told you that you were imminently going to die?
um, this was a Friday at it's about 6 o'clock, and that is the reasoning why I think that she didn't tell me, because Monday my phone was ringing off the hook with these PET scans I was supposed to go to and thoracic surgeons I was supposed to meet to discuss lung cancer. And all of a sudden I'm offended because my husband didn't tell me what she said. He didn't say. And so I was confused because she sort of went out of her way to say this isn't cancer, and then Monday it was cancer. And so I was like, I don't believe you. And that's sort of like an ongoing theme of my story because she was the doctor and she was the one that told me I didn't have it.
That's wild. That I
It
mean,
is,
to your
and
point, I was just gonna say to
I've
your
talked
point
to
about
other
trying
people.
to. Sorry, I was gonna say to your point about trying to figure out everything online and like on your own and not go, like I understand that wholeheartedly because I've dealt with doctors and dealt with different things that we're just self-diagnosing at this point, right? Because it's like to your
Well,
point, you have to ask them for something, and it's just like, isn't that what you're supposed to do? I just find it
because
baffling.
I'll add as well, I was a 30-year smoker. So we're not really shock and awe. My problem was that I was 46. Had I
Hmm.
been 50, I would have been sent off for a CT, but I wasn't 50.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's Lung Cancer Awareness Month, so I've been talking about this a lot, that to qualify for the screener, you must not only be 50 or over, but you must have smoked 30 consecutive years. And one in
Hmm.
four women, it's not, well, I say women, but because it's mostly women, one in four new cases of lung cancer are non-smokers. And they are mostly women under 50. So they aren't getting tested. So there are a lot of stage 4 non-smoking women right now because they won't change the test. And when I've confronted the American Lung Association and the American Cancer Association about this, they tell me the test is too dangerous for healthy people. And I'm like, but not for the dirty smokers. I'm like, I don't understand. So it's a runaround all around, and I don't know. People are finally starting because there's so many. Like, if there was no more smoking cancer, non-smoking cancer would be the seventh deadliest cancer in the world right now. It came up that fast in the past decade.
That's
So it's
wild.
getting harder for them to ignore
Yeah.
all these people
But
saying, go ahead.
but Gina, can you explain? So you think you're going, because I want to talk about how anxiety, misogyny were involved in this, but so you get this brutal diagnosis, and then to be frank, you're not dying.
Oh, I'm not right now, no, but I was for a while. Um, so if I go back, this was February 15th, 2019 is when I went in for that scan. And I kept having problems making these appointments because my cancer was very aggressive. It was grade 4. And so I was losing the ability to breathe more and more, which with my anxiety was making it harder to get to these appointments, much less a PET scan, which I told them, I'm like, on a great day, I wouldn't be able to do a PET scan. And I'm like, this is not a great day. So they finally allowed me to talk to the surgeon who I was supposed to meet, because there's all these people I've never met and they're mad at me because I haven't been able to get in. And I'm like, well, that's calming. You're mad at me. Like, I've frustrated them. I've made work for their day. And I'm like, okay. So they finally arranged a phone call with him, and I talked to him, and he explains to me what's going on. And everything he said, my gut said, if you listen to this man, he will kill you, because he wanted me to come in immediately and remove 2 lobes of my lung. And I thought about it because at this point I knew there was on my right lung, there was a 5 centimeter tumor on the apex of it, which is the very top, but another on top of my bronchi, which was crushing it, and it was growing through it. And they didn't know how to get rid of that because that was not able to be surgically removed, and it was what was causing the breathing problems. So he said, well, I can take out these 2 lobes that have necrotic, basically dead cancer in them. And I'm like, how am I supposed to recover from a major surgery where I've lost 2 lobes of my lung and then I'm going to go into treatment? But that was what was put to me. You get these 2 lobes of your lung removed, or you do not pass go.
Gina, when you
Because the doc,
say, sorry, just so we understand, when you say that they had dead cancer, does that mean that like they had cancer tumor and like it, I don't know, disintegrated, like it
cancer
wasn't, go ahead.
cancer grows very fast, and it grows out from the inside. So it's always growing outward. And it grows so fast that what it leaves behind is dead or necrotic.
Hmm.
So if you understand that, so it was growing so fast, what was left in my lung was dead. What was over here, which was what was active and growing. So he basically wanted to take what wasn't killing me out and leave what was killing me.
Right. I thought I heard that properly, but then I was confused because I hadn't actually heard the term like dead cancer before. Like I didn't understand it, but that's what I thought you were saying, and it's like that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
It'll come back in June. You'll hear it again
Hmm.
if we're going through the months. Because yeah, so I yeah, as I said, I was told if you do not follow doctor's orders, because he was the only man in this situation, you they wouldn't let me have an oncologist. I couldn't do anything else. There wasn't a choice B. It was do this or do nothing. So I said, I'm going to do nothing and try to figure it out myself. And my husband and I researched. We were those people that researched and tried alternative therapies. And that's why I sort of understand that movement now, because I understand the desperation of it all, because we did it. And I did something called Rick Simpson oil, if you're familiar with that. I did that for 3 months, almost 3 months, which is high dose THC. And I did a double dose. And I was someone who had all their eggs in that basket and was so happy that I was going to be taking care of this, because when I looked, they said there is no cure for your cancer. And I said, well, I want a cure or I want nothing. So I want a cure. And when I was done was when I finally agreed to go back into a hospital. So diagnosed in February, did not see a doctor or go into a hospital again until June, the 5th of June. And when I did, I was 75 pounds and not in the best of shape because I had tried keto, I had tried all these things, and because it was just such an aggressive cancer. And the sicker I got, the more I convinced myself, this is the treatment working. But it wasn't. So to quickly get through that, I finally get a biopsy, which I hadn't had, and they pull necrotic tissue. So there it is. And they also biopsied the wrong lobe of my lung, which I wouldn't find out until 2 years later when I wrote my book and I was going back through my files. But they didn't tell me that. They just said, you didn't give us any useful tissue. And so we don't know how to treat you. So we want to start you on this baby dose chemo, because by then the tumor had gone through my bronchi and was covering my trachea. And it was causing further problems. I couldn't walk anymore. And I was a mess. And sort of high speed that. And I do have to use gum sometimes, so I will lose my voice when I get dry. We go start the chemo, the baby doses, which is every week. I last 5 weeks and then I collapse. Well, I couldn't stand up, so I didn't really collapse very far. But I passed out in what is called a hypercapnic respiratory failure, which is when you cannot get enough oxygen in or enough CO2 out. And my husband rushed me to the emergency room, and they told him it was probably time to think about letting me go. So I had been diagnosed in February. This is June. Time to take her behind the barn and shoot her.
Oh my
But
God, Gina.
my mother and husband insisted, like, let's take her to a higher level urgent treatment center, which I was brought by ambulance to that night. And so I woke up in an ICU where I would be for the next 25 days. And at that point, I had not a CPAP mask on, I had a BiPAP mask on. I had the super mask on. And that was the only thing keeping me alive. And all the doctors, all the departments came and interviewed because each one wanted to try to get this tumor, which they now figured was covering 95% of my trachea, and it was a friable tumor, so it was bleeding. So you couldn't operate because if you touched it, it was going to drown me. So it was a bear. Yeah. So that's when I first learned that in this mask, no one was talking to me. Everyone was talking to my husband. Like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And I'm waving to him like, I'm here. And I finally chose something and that went in to do an exploratory surgery to see what was going on. And they ended up putting me in a coma. And I would be back 10 days later.
Like,
during which,
by accident or on purpose?
No, they just figured the only hope they had was trying to snake a pediatric ETT tube, the endotracheal tube for intubation, through that 5% of the tumor that was open. And so to do that, it was too short to get into my lungs, so I had to be paralyzed. Yikes.
So, Gina, I could talk to you sitting
All
on a
day.
bed for 8 hours
So
about
long.
this, but we don't have 8 hours, and I want our viewers and listeners on radio to be amazed. That was 2019, and you're sitting here talking to us. How do you go from being on the brink of death to writing a book about being on the brink of death? And presumably you're healthy now?
Also, how did you not
Perfect.
slap a doctor or two? Like, this is a wild story. Like, this is...
At this point, when I woke up from the coma, I was on a vent to a trach, so I was completely mute. And since I had been in a coma so long, I was pretty weak. So I couldn't talk and I couldn't really move. I couldn't even reach the nurse's button. So slapping was out of the question. All I had was, if you notice, I make faces. I have those, which those angered many doctors. I'm like, oh, that's really what you're going to be upset about? That I roll my eyes? So to speed it along, the ICU in and of itself was a very abusive situation, which if we talk about misogyny, I'll get back to that. But in there, I knew that they were in no way trying to save my life. They weren't even treating the cancer. I was like sort of a study experiment. And so how I got to be here and what really saved my life was going to hospice, begging to go to hospice for 11 days to get away from this treatment. And along the way, I figured out a treatment I thought would work. And so I came up with the plan, and this whole time I'm mute, and everybody is being told I'm crazy and to not humor trying to treat me or any thoughts that I would stay alive, because they said, well, she has zero odds of surviving August 2019. She will not. She is dead. And this is how my doctor talked to my parents. She's dead, deader than dead. And the one day that I could talk, I chastised him for talking to my 80-year-old parents like that. And he did not like me after that, which I guess we'll get back to later. So if we speed ahead, I go to hospice. I think I know exactly what will treat my cancer. So we're there for 6 days. We collect supplies. They're like, oh, they order a lot of stuff. We did. We loaded the car. We went back to my parents, which was where we started. I tried to zoom into that hospital before they found out that I was in hospice. And I talked to my original oncologist that I saw in June. I begged for immunotherapy. She said no. I kept begging. She eventually gave in because at that point I'm 60 pounds and I can't hold myself in a wheelchair, and I'm not giving up. Because she said, oh, the first dose will probably kill you. I'm like, well, that sucks, but no other choice. And it was a conversation. But she eventually said, fine, this goes against everything I have learned as a doctor. It goes against all my morals. And if I do this, I take no responsibility, because I believe the quality of life, if you gain even one day from this, will be a hell not worth living. And I've thought that a few times since, on like election days and stuff, but not the way that she meant it. So, but what happened, I mean, that part's really fast. I had my first dose of Keytruda August 29th. By 15 days later, the 17-centimeter tumor that had been crushing my right lung is melted. It's gone. And I'm walking. By pretty much Halloween, I'm fine. I've had my trach pulled. I've had a feeding tube pulled. I pulled my own catheter. I've had a PICC line pulled. I'm just fine. And then by the time I get my first scan, I'm kind of like this. Like, I mean, the only thing wrong with me was redoing all of the bedbound time, because by that time I'd been bedbound for 6 or 7 times. Like and it sounds horrible to say, but getting rid of my cancer was the easiest part of my story for me, because I had had ablation therapies in the ICU. Those speed up how immunotherapy works. So it was so fast. And I said, here I go, I'm getting cured. And people were like, that poor deluded girl, she believes that she's going to be fine. But I always knew I was. I never once thought I was going to die from this cancer. And that's what irritated people. I find that if you don't play the cancer game and say, I'm going to die and that's tragic, they get real mad. They're still mad. Like, I've been cancer free for 6 years and 4 months, and they're still mad that I won't say I have terminal cancer. And I'm like, I haven't been on treatment in over 5 years. What is killing me?
I have probably the world's stupidest question. Where did the cancer go? Did it become necrotic? Did it Like,
It
where?
essentially will just melt down and you pee and poop it out. That's how everybody gets rid of their cancer. You sweat it out, it just, that's how it comes out.
Amy,
It
I
does
don't know.
not circulate.
I don't know what to say about this. I'm gonna throw it over to you.
I'm like gobsmacked over here. Like that is a wild story, Gina. I can't
It,
even. Oh my gosh.
but the story itself was over 400 pages in the book. So
Ah,
I tried to
I
narrow it
tried to
down for you.
summing it up for us. Oh my gosh. I mean, so we were going to talk about misogyny. So let's come back to that because I there's so many times in your story, but like I can see myself in your story with the medical, not to the extent, but like with the medical system, trying to navigate it, trying to be like, I'm like pro living, like let's figure this out. And right. And like, I can
Yeah.
only imagine. And I think that
I've
like,
often, to interrupt for a second, I've often said that there are all these pro-death groups, but there are no pro-life groups. Because I was someone that was telling them, I want to live, and they were saying no. And I was pissed. I
I would
was
be
like,
too.
I am someone that has a temper and an Italian, and was like, with my anxiety, I was mad
Yeah.
because I was stuck in that bed. And they would put me in 4-point restraints, and I'm 60 pounds, and I'm like, trapped up, like I don't even know why I'm in restraints, because they're like, oh, you're a danger to yourself. I'm like, not if I get loose. So it was just crazy
I got Kim on that one. Oh my goodness. Well, and
because
the thing
like
is too is they say you're a danger to yourself, but you're the only one fighting for yourself. And it's like,
I know, and it was that, because I mean the restraints, and it plays into the misogyny, because like the male nurses and some female nurses that wanted to be like the male nurses would call them the babysitters, because if they put you in 4-point restraints, give you a little shot of halcyon, they don't have to see you for an hour or so. And
gosh.
there's a lot that goes on in the ICU that surprised me, because I had nothing to do but sit back and watch. Nobody talked to me. I couldn't talk. And so everything that went on, I was aware of, and I also became something like the therapist mascot, because I couldn't talk. Everybody would come in and tell me their problems.
Oh, that's the
And
worst.
I'm like,
Come on. I
"Dang."
mean,
But
I mean,
they would tell me why it didn't make sense to cure stage 4 cancer, why they didn't like me, why they don't like cancer patients in the ICU. So I knew all this stuff. Oh yeah, because they were
WTF.
that because they were that sure I was going to die. They're like, this is like cleanse your soul time. So I am like a priest and I'm supposed to bless them, and I would flip them off. I'm like, no, you're not going out gently, because to get into the misogyny, a lot of it was the doctor. I said I hurt his ego by chastising him, because all these people had watched for
Actually,
so long.
can I say, Gina, I think you hurt his ego by living.
Oh, definitely. He's not real happy about that.
Yeah,
Because
because yeah.
he broke the law. He, I knew, because I was watching, that he was sort of going against his oath, which is to do no harm, because he would come into my room and tell me he's going to end my life, that I deserve to die, that I just think I'm a know-it-all bitch. And keep in mind, I'm mute. And he's going off on me like I'm his wife that just took his dog in his truck. And I'm like, you've got problems. But this was every morning of him telling me, I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you. So he stopped feeding me. And so in my 25 days in the ICU, I was fed 4 times by NG tube, which not enough, especially if you're only 85 pounds. But if you look at my file, it says I'm 98 pounds, which is my normal weight. And if you've seen the pictures of me, that wasn't 98 pounds. I mean, in my ICU file, it says I gained at least a pound every day for those 25 days I was there, although I was only fed 4 times. And when I would try to,
Sorry,
go
Gina,
ahead.
do you have a lawsuit pending or something that we should know about?
No, I only was able to get my legal file too late because you only have 2.5 years to sue. And it probably wouldn't have won anyway because I'm my own worst evidence because I'm not dead. So, so
Just
there's
think about that sentence for a second. Because I'm not dead. Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh
because
my.
I mean I was a terminal cancer patient and I'm not dead. So what am I complaining about? But
What
I
what do you
was.
what do you want people to get out of your book? Because I can pick out, just talking to you for this short period of time, 150 things.
Hmm.
Don't give up hope. Don't give up
Oh yeah.
advocating for yourself. Like, what do you want people to get out of this book that you went from terminal to 6 more years and you seem perfectly healthy to me?
Got nothing. It is that sort of never say die and hope thing, and the idea that these death sentences, if you have 2 years, like I've had people tell me, like my doctor says I have 3 more years, and I'm like, shut up. I never had over 3 months. I had 3 days twice, but a lot of it was this abuse with the doctor, with the starvation. He also turned the saturated oxygen off on my vent. So he said she can't go home. She can't go on a hospice because she has to be on this vent. It's not even on putting out oxygen, it's on room air. And so a lot of the book was pointing out this was done in front of my husband and my parents, and they had no idea. And I had a whiteboard and I would write it, and they would say, it's the drugs. She's just hallucinating. But it wasn't. It was real. And it was made possible sort of by this misogyny that I talk about of these female nurses, my nutritionists, my female doctors that were more afraid of my doctor than for standing up for me as a patient because I was just going to die. Why are they going to put themselves on the line for me? So, I mean, I had a nutritionist that monitored me every day, and she knew I was being starved. My palliative nurse knew I was being starved because his excuse was, well, she has refeeding syndrome. I didn't. I tested negative for it, and you don't cure that by starving someone because that rarely cures people of anything but life.
When
So,
did when I'm in such disbelief, Gina. This is wild. What did like so when you got out of that situation and like when you regained your voice and like you could have conversations with your husband and your parents, like what did that look like? Did you like because you're writing on the whiteboard, they're just saying like you're nuts and you're like I'm not nuts. I know what's happening, right? And it's like
it
so
it was horrible to watch them. Sorry, have to go through that. That was my notes falling. Because that note said, by the way, that there is a medical term called WWW, and if you hear it, it's code for whiny white women, which means that the patient, probably nothing wrong with her, it's just another whiny white woman, very popular in cancer. Anyway, like the grief that I watched my parents and my husband go through because of this was unbearable. Like for them, because I knew like how hard, like by the end I told my husband on the whiteboard to watch what's going on. In the last 3 days he did, and that's when he picked up on what was going on, and he actually pushed a nurse out of my room, locked the door, and gave me a little bit of a tube feed, which is probably why I lived to get to hospice. But that's how bad it got, where they said, we're gonna like arrest you. And he's like, go ahead. So it wasn't awesome. And I mean, it's just so blatant
It
because
so
when people,
wasn't awesome. Nothing
so
about this
not
was
awesome.
awesome. Um, Gina, I mean, we're at the end of this. We're gonna obviously tell people how to get your book, and but what advice? I have been in palliative care. Amy works in seniors, principally as a specialist in our city. Um, I held my dad when he died in a palliative care unit. What do you want all of us to know because I had a run-in with a doctor, two doctors actually. But what do you want us to know? What is the number one thing that you wrote the book for all of us?
That one of the fears that kept me from dying was that this cold, blatant cruelty would be what I died to. It would not be a room full of my family and loved ones. They had to come and say goodbye to me when I was mute, and I was mute for no reason other than my doctor didn't want me to speak. So it's about letting someone have the death or the life that they want. And that's not somebody's choice to make. Because I see that a lot, like, oh, you have no choice. There's just no more options. I was told that since February, and it just wasn't true. So for palliative care, it's to watch out for curative care. I mean, really, because palliative care is often much kinder people than in the hospital. And what's being done now is just these excuses are being made of you've heard all the excuses. It was COVID. It's there's no money. It's the insurance. It's everything. But what's happening is the patient care is going into the toilet, and that's what it is.
So, I had heard when I was going through my trauma with my dad, the term bed blockers. Are you familiar with that?
Bed blockers?
That's
Yeah.
all up in my
No.
that's all in my zone.
Yeah, is that if someone is palliative, there was somebody new in my dad's bed within 2 hours of him passing. So bed blockers are, we've decided that you are going to die and we need the bed for somebody that might live, and that helps our stats.
Oh, I
Um,
haven't heard that, but in the ICU, it was the opposite. Like they knew I was going to die, but my insurance was still paying out $67,000 a day. So keep her here as long as we can because they fought me on going to
Wow.
hospice. It took me 11 days until my doctor decided I had 3 days, and then they were there in 12 hours. So this thing that I had begged, I mean, it was 24/7 of me holding up. Like I held a whiteboard up to just people passing in the hall that said hospice, please, for days and
Wow.
days until someone noticed and they called hospice for me.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, they talk about bed blockers for different reasons in the hospital. It's that they cannot do any more for you. You need to leave, right? Kind of scenario, which is it's all kind of part and parcel. But I like that's an unbelievable story, Gina. Like, thank you so much for sharing it. I'm totally gobsmacked. I'm in total disbelief. Like, I just
so
can't believe that stuff
um,
like that was happening.
I think that there will be a lot of people, whether they love bed blockers, whether they love someone that has a diagnosis. Um, Tell us a bit about your book, how people can find it, how they can find you on the internet, because I think people are looking for answers in what is a very difficult healthcare system right now.
Yeah, 'cause I've been talking about this. Like part of my book, it was the actual Facebook post that I was putting up as soon as I got out of hospice. I can hold my phone up again. So you'll see like what I was thinking then, because I've always written. I'm not a writer, I'm a painter, but I was writing then. And you see like I'm not thinking like a normal cancer patient. I believe I'm gonna live. And you see people like, oh, that's terrible because they're not used to it. And so the book is on Amazon and it's done okay. It just people once they find out about it, they usually are pretty stoked to get it. But I keep getting blocked about. There's all these books now about the fen-phen ivermectin cures that are burying me, and I'm like, my husband's mother was diagnosed with lung cancer, non-smoking lung cancer, 4 months after me. So we had two stage 4 lung cancer patients in the family at the same time. and she gave up on treatment and tried the Fenben, and she passed painfully in 2020. So it's something I've always been aware of and speak a lot about, not as someone who just guesses, but as someone who has seen it.
Can can
And
can I ask you, do you think that your mental wellness and your anxiety might have been the gift that kept you alive because you,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely,
Like
absolutely,
I think
because
that was your gift, is that you were not going to be placated and you were not going to be someone that took black and white as black and white. I think it was your superpower.
yeah, I mean, and it was fight or flight. And since as soon as I lost that ability to walk to flight for the first time in my life, to be frank, I was fucked up. That fucked me more than anything because
We like the F-bomb on this show. We like it.
I could not get away from these people, and they
Yeah.
knew it because it's just and
That's
that coming to grips with legs that don't work at 46 was like, what? And seeing people that do things like passive aggressive, like put the nurse call button where they know I can't reach it. I mean, there's stories about that in the book of all like these cruel things of the names I was called. I mean, it was schoolyard bullying at its worst, and it's because I was a 60-pound cancer patient that was dying. But this was a teaching hospital, and my nurses were 24 years old. They weren't ready for this. They tormented me. And the more that just made me mad. And the anxiety, it came from childhood of those being misdiagnosed. And I mean, it's also in the book that from 12 to 13 to 16, I saw a therapist who was supposed to treat this, which was then a personality disorder. And he treated it as a discipline disorder and tied me to chairs and used to molest me and stuff. So this set me in the mindset of never ever trust a doctor at face value until they earn it. I will never trust fall into a doctor. So they're like, the doctor says, I don't freaking care. Because my experience with doctors and the misogyny of watching them, this is a known pedophile in my town. There's no one that doesn't know it. He's still alive. He's still practicing and watching people block every lawsuit that I've tried to do to save future children. And so I've known for a long time, even though I'm a small girl with anxiety, I know big things, and it doesn't go over well because it's so easy to discredit me. But when I put out the book, I mean, there's lawyers that fact check this. So like, come at me, bro. So
That
because
is
I'm like, I'm gonna get you
small
before
girl that
you
knows
die.
big things, like a small girl that knows big things. That is my favorite quote. I
Yeah, because my attending that was so intent on killing me and this therapist were so similar that when this man walked into my room, I got a cold chill because I knew I can sense that. And that's why I said, if you learn to harness your anxiety, it is the greatest superpower you'll ever have because it will tell you good from evil, bad from good. It's there to protect you.
I'll hand this over to Amy because I know that we're I can't believe how fast this has gone, but I know that we're almost out of time. But Amy and I have talked about the fact that kids who grow up in difficult circumstances, I was one of those. I was raped when I was 8 or 9. I don't remember the exact birthday year.
16.
We grow this superpower of knowing what's coming because we're always looking on the horizon for what is coming at us, right?
That
And
was in my notes for you. You know where the exits are. You know who's in the room. You
you know where
know
the exits
what's
are.
happening.
You go to a restaurant and you sit with your back to the wall because you need to see the entrance and you need to see the exit. And
Yeah, and it's
I've never heard in my lifetime of somebody who had to do that while they were intubated and watching people control their body. And I am totally inspired but horrified at what happened to you.
Well, it worked out in my favor because early on, to sort of shut me up, I was put on Ativan and then Klonopin by the time I was 21, which worked out in my favor very well because I'm only on 1.5 milligrams, which doesn't mean a lot to people, but it's a small dose. Enough so that the drugs that I was on in the ICU weren't hitting as hard as they thought. I was never as doped as they thought. And I put up pages from my files for people to show. Like during the day, I was on Precedex, Propofol, ketamine, Versed, Valium, Ativan, and I'm like, I'm still awake. Because they're like, why won't she sleep? I'm like, because I'm that nervous. I am that nervous.
Ketamine.
Rightly so.
Ketamine.
Oh my goodness.
Because they kept crashing me because they kept thinking that 1.5 dose of Klonopin is a small dose, but I was on it 35 years, and my husband kept trying to tell them this. I kept trying to tell them this. They're like, we know how to do our job. So every time they pulled the propofol, I'd crash, and I was on fentanyl too, just for giggles. And so I'd crash, and what end up is every time they tried to lower my dosage, I'd end up on more drugs. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. So that's honestly what saved me, was that I was awake, but it all was a little fluffier.
Fluffier. And speaking
Yeah,
of, speaking
it's
of
like these people.
before we say goodbye, I want to introduce you to this guy who is my rescue. He looks like your guy.
Oh, this is Pickle. He's very popular in the book. He went into the ICU. My husband brought the dogs into the ICU because we're like, we don't give a shit what you think. And then it turned out to be the greatest thing we ever did because that entire floor came to the ICU room to see the dogs. I'm like, I've never gotten these many doctors in my room. Like in 25 days, I had 3 oncologists. I never met any of them. Like,
oh my goodness.
I'm not going to walk down there.
Just before Amy wraps up, Amazon, tell us the name of your book. Tell us, because I know that you don't go by Gina as an author. Give us that information so that people can find you right now.
Amazon, The Dead Girl's Guide to Terminal Cancer, Eugenia Mancini Horan. You'll know it when you see it. It's pretty. I am an artist and I made the cover, so it's one of the reasons I wrote a book was so that I could make the cover. So that's. I mean, I probably.
Amy and I both have books, and I think that your cover is better than both of ours.
Thanks.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry,
Gina.
your cover is really good, but yes.
Yeah.
I think your cover.
Kim. Gina, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I would expect that, I don't even know what the words are now. I would expect that anybody hearing this would be as gobsmacked as us and run, don't walk to get this book and to support Gina.
It's my hope that people will read it, and if they go into oncology with themselves or a loved one, they'll be able to more easily see these red flags.
Yeah.
And what good is such a shitty story if it can't help people? So
girl, that's what I feel too. That's why we get you.
Because it's not like Medicaid was going to allow me therapy. So that book was my therapy because they're like, you're very open. I'm like, I'm a very open person.
It's the same reason I'm writing my second book, right? It's like, if somebody doesn't get something good out of this, I don't know what the hell we're doing. So
I know, I've lived through bedpans and my husband doing the bedpan. So it's like, no one needs to go through that.
Kim, did you have something?
A book on people who fall between.
Oh, you're frozen, Kim.
And say
that again, Kim.
I'm writing my second book on people who fall between the cracks because of systems. And I would love to follow up with you about that because as somebody that is highly involved with the insurance companies right now after being hit by a car. Um, I think people are going to get a lot out of your book because it can give them hope.
Yeah.
Oh,
You have given
definitely. Because,
people hope.
yeah, because as I say, like, I've been told by several doctors I'm the sickest terminal cancer patient to ever make a full and complete recovery in a way they didn't think was possible. Like, I have no side effects from any of this stuff that I went through. And so when they were saying there's nothing more that can be done, it's like, well, did you look in like a book? And that's the thing with today's oncology is it isn't in books yet. It's just coming like out daily in news bulletins of all the medicine that's being used today has come out within the last mostly the last 5 years. So who you pick as your doctor could save your life or end it.
Ugh.
Yikes.
On that
So
So
note,
much more. We have so much more to talk about, and
ooh,
I'd love to have you on the show in a couple months as follow up to your book. I couldn't recommend alternative learning. That's what I'm going to call it. Not what the medical system tells you, but what other people. I am so grateful that you were on our show today.
thank you so much,
thank you,
Gina.
because I hope to write another book about the years after because
Hmm.
everybody's like, your doctors must be so stoked. I'm the most hated person in oncology.
Because
They
you live.
hate me. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and it wasn't because of them.
Yeah.
Like because none of my doctors, and because I won't call myself terminal or incurable. I'm like, what is the definition of terminal or incurable at this point then? Because if I weren't, my insurance doesn't cover preventive health care anymore. So mammograms, colonoscopies, anything like that. Because they're like, well, what reason would they have to keep you terminal? It's financial. They don't have to pay for anything.
Oh, and
So
insurance companies, my favorite topic, pre-existing conditions.
So, as I said, little girl knows big things.
Sure do. Gina, thanks for joining us
Thank
today.
you.
For our viewers, I hope that you found so much value out of this. Go and grab Gina's book. We will definitely put it in the show notes for today. And until next time, we'll see you on the inner shift.